Hark the bardic paladin, who sings and plays again. He tells the tales of glory and weaves a magic story. He'll join you at your table and ask you to share a fable. Heroes of humble origin, villains who must be fought again. No matter their skill or prowess, the people in life are countless. So we pray you heed our request. Enjoy this tale of sidekicks and side quests.
Episode 150, Fenn, the Happy Hermit. Welcome to Sidekicks and Side Quests, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that helps to put humans back into humanity and breathe life into your campaign NPCs with backstory and bravado. That's right, we're building a world, one character at a time. I am your host, Kurt Krenwelge, the Bardic Paladin, and I'll be joining John M. Rodriguez's table in the Levitating Platter. Hello and welcome to another month's episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests, the best unofficial Dungeons & Dragons podcast in my humbly biased opinion. Before I reveal who my guest of the month is with this episode, I have to leave you in suspense as I showcase our first ad read. This podcast is brought to you by Plus One EXP and their brand new RPG Zine Club. It's a golden age of indie and small press RPGs. For the last several years, Plus One has made it our mission to help new indie creators and small press imprints get their products onto tables worldwide. Our highest goal is to create more sustainable and equitable pathways to getting games made and played. Now we want to take on our most ambitious project yet with RPG Zine Club. What is RPG Zine Club? It is a monthly membership subscription service featuring fresh zines from emerging and expanding creators across the globe. It's our way of inviting GMs, players, and zine lovers everywhere to invest more intentionally in the creative community. It's crowdsourced support without crowdfunding. Now, what are some of the features you have to look forward to when you join the RPG Zine Club? Well, you've got monthly releases with 2 20 to 44 page saddle stitch zines. Take your pick from story zines, adventure zines, or get both kinds. You can get print and digital or digital only of your favorite titles. Join the Clubhouse Discord. It's a section of our online community for club members to discuss and play new titles. Get the best prices guaranteed. You can select your frequency of how often you'd like titles, and you can get what you want and only get what you want. If you miss a month, there's no worries there. You can add recent titles to your month's order and get an annual surprise each February after your first anniversary. Get access to special content, including interviews, how to play videos, and special content for Zine Club titles. Do you like free pizza? Fill out one of the RPG Zine Club passports and redeem it for free pizza at events. You're going to get to encounter new and known designers. We source the best voices from across the RPG design community. We curate zines based on community interest and feedback to help you discover your new favorite creators. We are DIE focused. Plus One is committed to champion diversity, inclusion, and equity in our projects. Creators with diverse experiences make our community better. Zine Club prioritizes creating equity for all of our creators. And it's more than a purchase. Your subscriptions will let us invest more heavily in our print partners and provide them with potentially life-changing support by consolidating scores or hundreds of purchases as the club grows. So, if you want more details, please be sure to go to the website rpgzine.club, and this all can be found also by going to the website plus1exp.com. On that website, if you're making a purchase for a beard balm, a lip balm, beard RPG, or whatnot, and you're looking for a code to use at checkout, be sure to use the code Randolph, RANDOLPH, and save some coin on your purchase. Again, the website to get the discounts from me and provide a kickback to me to help support the podcast would be plus1exp.com with code Randolph, and be sure to go and check out the brand new rpgzine.club. All right, and without further ado, I turn the microphone over to my guest and I ask, hello, mystery contestant. Would you care to introduce yourself? Tell us who it is that you are and what is it that you do?
Alrighty. Well, hello there. My name is John Rodriguez, and I am a small business owner that of a program that offers Dungeons and Dragons and Minecraft classes for kiddos. So that's kind of who I am right now. I've been a lot of things in my past. Was in the United States Navy as a hospital corpsman. Did do a stint as a social worker, and then also worked with delinquent youth, kind of like a probation officer. So been a dental assistant, medical assistant, kind of done a little bit of everything. So, but like I said, right now, just kind of working with the kiddos is what I do currently.
That's amazing. I appreciate you sharing your journey, and that's it's just fascinating. I'm a military brat, so I kind of have that experience a little bit. But my dad was the Air Force and not the Navy, though. I've got some Navy veterans with my in laws and such. So, um, did you get to go anywhere cool or interesting around the world in your stint when you were in the Navy?
Nothing too cool. I joined at a very strange time where, especially for my job, which in the Navy it's rates. I know it's MOS and Army and whatever, but we were incredibly overmanned. So they were just kind of putting us in clinics and hospitals just all over the state. So I've been all over the states, but nowhere out of the country actually. So.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. And you said you're doing these camps for kids, and the name of it is, I believe, Heroes Wanted. Is that
Yes.
am I reading remembering it right? Interesting.
Mhm.
So it seems like this is a good niche for this podcast because it's like I have a 4-year-old son that loves Minecraft and I love Dungeons and Dragons. So this seems like a match made in heaven. So can you tell us more about the program? What is it that got you inspired to start it?
Absolutely, yeah. So, kind of going into the business itself is, I'm a father myself. I have a 3-year-old and a 4-month-old now, and I just wanted to create something safe and great for kiddos. And I know that with going to Minecraft, there's a lot of concerns there with who they're playing with, who they're talking to, things like that. So
Hmm.
we went and we actually built a server from the ground up. I had no idea what I was doing, but learned a lot about like modding and JavaScript, and but we ended up using a mod which is called Pixelmon. And what it does is it combines Pokemon and Minecraft together. So you have all of the crafting from Minecraft now mixed with the world of Pokemon, where you can catch, ride, train, battle, all that. Adds a bunch of new things to build and everything. And
Hmm.
what we did is we took this custom server and we built it from the ground up, and we built an entire world that we stocked full of NPCs. I think we have over 1,200 different unique NPCs with dialogue, trainers, all those things. We went and built out our entire 9-town progression, complete with gym leaders and the Elite Four. And the great thing about it is we've made this entire world where kids can interact. They can go on the adventure, go town to town and collect the badges and do all that. But since it's Minecraft, they can actually add their own splash to it and add to this world together cooperatively and be able to
Mm.
enjoy what other classes build and things like that. So we have classes that have their own towns, and those towns have parkour courses and things like that. So it creates this really neat community. And the great thing is the only people that are allowed in there are those in our classes. So you don't have the randos that, make their way in. You're not worried about who the kids are playing with. And
Mhm.
the entire thing is instructor led and moderated the entire time. So that's the Minecraft piece. For the Dungeon and Dragons piece is it's a similar thing, as we do offer campaigns for kiddos going from ages 8 to 17, and we kind of break those age groups up, putting the teens with themselves and the younger kiddos with them. But we go and we just we do Minecraft. I'm sorry, we do Dungeon and Dragon campaigns with them, and we tailor all that content for kiddos, once again, making a safe space. And we do everything based off of this 5 core value system that we have, which we call our Players Pact. And this is built up of respect, safety, consent, teamwork, and trustworthiness. And we kind of use that for the framework of everything in our programs. And it's just a great way to approach Dungeons and Dragons with kids, and especially with if issues come up with people having conflicting ideas or things like that, and it's like, hey,
Mhm.
well, let's utilize respect. Let's make sure that we hear Kurt out. Kurt, what did you want to do? Okay, I think that's a great idea. And so it really gives us a great framework to kind of approach that. So, and that's everything we do is 100% online virtual. So the great thing is kiddos can join from wherever. We got kids from East Coast, West Coast. I even have a couple from Alaska right now. So as long as you could make the time zone work,
Mhm.
we're able to get those classes going for you. So I think it's just a great program, great opportunity, and I wish I had something like that when I was a kid.
And I was gonna ask, I mean, so you were explaining with the Minecraft portion, you're using this custom server that combines it with Pokemon, which of course for young kids has got to be fun. Of like, oh my gosh, it's Beedrill or it's a Bulbasaur and whatever. Uh, but with the Dungeons and Dragons component, are you using? Because I know that there was a partnership or license agreement or something where there's like actual Dungeons and Dragons mixed with Minecraft now, because that's a thing that exists. So is that's what's happening? You're using those servers in order to run the D&D games, or is it just like, hey, this is our server and this is our space and we just so happen to use it to like use a different service like Roll20 or something else to be able to facilitate the online game for the kiddos?
Yeah, so they're so currently the two programs are completely separate. So we do have our custom server for the Minecraft Pixelmon, and then we do Dungeon Dragons, and we use Roll20 with some screen share and Zoom and things like that for our
Oh,
classes.
okay.
So we did have some plans, which hopefully, if our Minecraft program beefs up, we're working on another server, which was more kind of like what you talked about, like that Dungeon and Dragons kind of esque Minecraft.
Mhm.
And there's some other mods and things out there where you can actually add like character classes, like progression, like quests, all that. So we have that server pretty fleshed out, but the business is still pretty new, and we're still kind of like testing interest before we completely launch. So hopefully in the future we will be able to kind of bridge those two together and have that, like Dungeon and Dragons esque Minecraft. So
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean, I remember Minecraft coming out in my college days, and it's like, oh, it's squares and blocks. But really, over the years, we've been able to see people do pretty amazing and wondrous things in Minecraft with, like, here's me recreating the entire Earth, or like, here's the entirety of Middle Earth,
oh yeah.
and like recreating the Battle of Helm's Deep, with explosions and all that stuff. Yeah. So I know we've had, the community has had these endeavors, with Project Sigil, which now unfortunately seems like, such a bummer with that. And then we have, Baldur's Gate 3, which is amazing to be able to go in and play in that world. So I can only imagine, and I'm rooting for you for this new project because how cool, especially with me as a kid, like I didn't get to play D&D until I was in my college years, but
Mhm.
how cool would it have been for me if I was like, okay, I'm in this Minecraft server and I'm an elf and I'm a fighter or whatever, and I'm like looking around the world and it may be all Minecrafty, but still it's like there's like a to help with those visual learners or like people who are like, wait a minute, I need to tactically see what this is like. And it's like, okay, well, there's the tree, there's the rock, the goblins are right there. Here's a horse. What are you gonna do? So I think that sounds cool. I really hope that knocks it out of the park for you.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's something. It's been a real big passion project, and I have some really good buddies where we all kind of collab together to get that going. But yeah, we'll see what the future holds. But like I said, currently we have the Pixelmon, which I mean, I was excited to play it. Having playing through it, play testing through it, and everything, and it is truly like a Pokemon game, but just with Minecraft. Which is really
Sure. And
awesome.
I'm definitely going to date myself now as the elder millennial here, but like, do you have all original 151 or does it go to all the other versions of the Pokemons that I never actually played? And the only ones I'm really comfortable with are like the first 151 and that's it.
Well, as another millennial, I can I can tell you that no, they have I believe it's like 890, and
Wow.
it has all of the Pokemon all the way up and through the most recent Scarlet Violet. So I mean,
Wow.
that's kind of the great thing is like when a student joins, they get to actually pick their starter from 9 generations, and they just pop up on the screen, fill the screen there, and it's really awesome. And then unlike the other Pokemon games, there's not like a limitation to what you encounter in the wild. So you can encounter legendaries, you can encounter starters. So if they have favorites, they can go and pursue those favorites. And it uses a lot of Minecraft mechanics with biomes, so your water types are going to be in more water-based biomes. Your flying types are going to be in the air. Forests are going to have a lot of bug types, things like that. So
Hmm.
the mod also adds in a bunch of brand new biomes too, and a bunch of brand new items and everything. So it's really taking something amazing like Minecraft and just expanding upon it, which is it ends up being very, very cool.
Yes, the bug trainers that you'd have to get through the forest from Pallet Town, and then they just have the Metapod that just uses Harden all over and over and over again. Yep.
Yeah, and well, the neat thing too is with all those generations too is they carry over all of the mechanics directly based off the game. So you have all of the attacks, the stats, all of that. So with 8 generations now of moves, you know that Metapod you come across may know Bug Bite or some other things that kind of mix it up. So
Ooh, but no Masingo.
I think it is in the game. It's you know, there's a lot of Easter egg things that you can do. One of the things is you can like attach a Pokemon that you have and make it like stationary, like a decoration.
Mhm.
And if you if you purposely don't select a Pokemon, I think when you set up that block, Masingo does pop out. So I don't know if it's playable, but it's kind of in the game. So I had some kiddos recently freak out. We're like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's Masingo." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Oh.
you would have no idea." It's just a thing, you know.
Yeah, all the fables and legends that we heard growing up of like, oh man, like if you got Masingo, like you were gonna like kill your game, like you were gonna ruin it forever, or you were gonna just like be unstoppable. I don't. I had the legends went back and forth both ways.
Well,
So,
you have to find Mew under the truck first, right?
oh, see, I don't know. I never got that far in
Okay, yeah.
Pokemon Blue, so it's like I got through like the first couple towns. I remember Snorlax and having to get the Poke Flute, but that's really about it.
Yeah, I think there's a like Pokemon folk legend where you know the SS Annie, what was the ship that you would go on?
Oh yes.
When you're making your way to that ship, there's a truck that's kind of off the pier right there. And I don't know how it started, but they're like, "Oh, if you interact with the truck, Mew is under the truck." But once you leave that area, you can never backtrack to the dock. So like no one ever tried to go to the truck, you know. So me and my friends would be like, "Did you go to the truck?" And it's like, "Oh no," you know. But yeah.
Well, we could certainly sit here and gab about Minecraft and Pokemon and all that, but I would be doing our podcast a disservice if I didn't lead into this next question of do you currently or have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons before? I mean, it sounds like you have if you're running like a whole half of your business that's, catered to kids and children to learn how to play D&D. So, like what's your history with the hobby?
Well, you know, I don't want to surprise you here, Kurt, but yes, I have played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons in my time, and unfortunately, I don't play as much now. I'm kind of a forever the DM, very hardly the player. Has kind of been my life progression with D&D. So, but I started playing, gosh, when I was probably about 16, 17. And
Mm.
I had a very horrible experience with learning. We had the local game store here where I live, and they had to advertise, come out on Thursdays. Anyone can come learn to play D&D. And me and my friends, we came from a lower income community, didn't have a lot of money, and we're like, we can, instead of buying video games, we could just get into Dungeons and Dragons. Like we never have to buy anything. You just make it up. Like it would be great.
Mm.
So we show up to the game store, and they are not very welcoming. um,
Mm.
they have like the 10 tables set up, and we went table to table like, hey, we want to play. Oh, we're really high level. We can't we can't squeeze you in. Go over there. And after hearing that, we were so disgruntled. We were about to walk out, and there was this sweet dad that was running the kids table in the corner, and he kind of saw us be rejected over and over again, and he said, hey, like if you don't mind playing with my 10-year-old son over here and his friends, I'd love to teach you. So we sat down and played at the kids table and kind of got our first introduction to D&D. And props to that dad for doing that and extending that out. That was amazing. But we just decided like, hey, we're never coming back here. We're going to buy the books and just do it ourselves. So that kind of
Mm.
started that journey, and then we kind of never looked back. So I still have buddies that I've been playing with now for over 15 years. So
Wow. Well, I mean, I am sorry that you had that initial experience of rejection, but kudos to that dad for stepping up and just reminding me of the Kids Table podcast and YouTube channel where it's like, oh, different generations of players all at the same table. So your first game was like with younger kids and then yourselves as teenagers. So I don't know. What was that? If you could, I don't know, you may not necessarily remember the adventure, the game itself, but like, how do you think that experience was of like, wow, my first time gaming, I've got my teenage buddies and how we would want to act, but oh, we're sharing a table with like, elementary school age kids, so we can't be teaching them about the birds and the bees with like their dad as the dungeon master there and stuff.
Well, I think that, and this is something that I see in my classes that I run right now with my students as well, is there's something magical about doing Dungeon Dragons with kids because they are so willing to be vulnerable, whereas sometimes us as adults or as teens we are not.
Mhm.
And I know me and my buddy that we were with, we were very hesitant, very reserved, and we're here to play, and we play a lot of video games, so we're here about the tactics. I'm going to move here and attack this, and that's what I do.
Mm.
And that dad kind of prompted like, well, how do you do it? What does it look like as you attack that goblin in the forest there? And it's like, oh, well, I draw my long sword and I do a sweeping motion like this and I aim straight for the arm. And he's like, perfect. And
Mm.
I think watching those other kids, that the younger kids, that were just so into it, so excited and so animated with their descriptions of what they wanted to do, no matter how off the wall it was,
Mhm.
that really kind of pushed us to open up, and that's something that I always try to kind of remember even now as an adult playing, or when I'm kind of being the instructor or dungeon master for kiddos as well. It's just amazing to see.
Amazing. Yeah. And no, that's cool. I mean, my first time playing was with a bunch of my friends, and we were all college age, and we all had video game experience and stuff like that at that point. So that was my only frame of reference. And a couple of times, oh, maybe I did like a modified D&D Halloween one shot with my 4-year old who was 3 at the time, and his mom ran it, or like, oh, I tried to do something with my nieces, that are younger. So I haven't quite truly gotten that experience of like, running a kids table of D&D, but I'm hoping that in the future I'll be able to. And certainly if I need a camp or like my kiddo is just like, I just want to play D&D all the time. And I'm like, I've only got so many hours a day. We'll just sign you up for this online game and you could play with Mr. John and he'll run you all the D&D you want between these hours of the day.
Yep, send them over, Kurt. Like I said, 4 is a little young. We start at about 8,
Oh,
but
okay.
here in a couple years though. Yeah,
There we go. Yeah, something to look forward to. Yeah.
I've tried some scenarios with my daughter as well. Like I said, she's 3, and I think you mentioned that the kids table earlier. They have a really great reference about kind of introducing that to younger kiddos and like that 15-minute D&D model. But
Mhm.
with my daughter, we do a lot of like story based scenarios, and
Mhm.
her name is Millie, so we call it the Adventures of Millie the Wizard. And it's like,
Ah.
Millie the Wizard has a problem. How do you solve it? And then she'll make up her spells and everything. Well, I want to cast like a tree grows on him. I'm like, oh, okay, you cast tree growth and this, and so, but that's what I found works really well with kind of that age group so far. So
I was gonna say if you memorize some of the spells she's done over time, and kind of like how I saw like some social media posts where they're like actually the formula for figuring out the name of a spell is usually like the name of the arcane practitioner, then it's an adjective, and then it's like the noun of whatever thing. So the joke of the post was like, so Mike's hard lemonade would technically be like a wizard spell. So like Millie's tree growth, could one day show up
yeah, yeah.
as a spell in her future games where she's like, oh yeah, I remember when I was a little girl and I just made up this spell, and years later, my level 13 wizard is just casting like this from this ancient wizard Melly the tree growth spell. It's like, yeah, it's just been around in this world forever. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, makes for some really great homebrew kind of spells there, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, like feet for hot peppers or something like that. What kids, being super inventive, and it's like, sorry, this ridiculous spell happens. It's legitimate. It's there's been precedent established. So,
No, I'm gonna have to make a note of that and start writing those down. Yeah, because she doesn't know, so she's like, what do you want to do to the dragon? And it's like, I want to turn him into a nice guy. And I'm like, okay, so you cast your nice guy turning spell, and she's
yeah.
like, yeah, super excited. So that'll.
Also means the bad guys can use it in the future too. So you
Oh,
wait till she has like some real powerful clutch spell, And then you're like, and then later, years later, it's like the big bad evil guy. It is like the big bad evil guy is going to cast rocks fall from above you. And it's like, what? And then all of a sudden, like a big rock just falls on your head and knocks you unconscious. Sorry, that's the spell.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, no, I am so excited. That's the great thing with being a father and kiddos and everything. It's just to kind of get to those moments, you know.
Yeah. And so with this podcast, it is called Sidekicks and Side Quests. So we like to ask the questions about the other and bring the focus on the other. So for the first part of this, who happens to be your favorite sidekick or NPC character, whether they be from movies, film, television, literature, etc.? And why is this character your favorite sidekick or NPC?
Well, first I have to make sure this counts. So, does a character that is an NPC for a long time but then becomes kind of a player character later on count?
Sure, why not?
Okay, all right, perfect. Well, my favorite is I don't know if you're familiar, but is Jafar from Fire Emblem 7. So this was the first Fire Emblem released in the US for the Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
And Jafar was
Not from the Aladdin movie.
no, not from the Aladdin movie. A lot, probably even possibly more nefarious. He was a villain, was a bad guy, and not to get into too much of this game or anything, but there's the good guys, and they're trying to stop some world calamity, and they're gathering some sort of stones that can do it. And of
Mm,
course, the bad guys, they have like these generals that operate in the shadows,
okay.
and Jafar was one of these generals, and he was an assassin. And so you go through the game and you watch Jafar just taking out, some of your other allies, hurting townspeople, doing these things. He's the greatest assassin in the land. But they hint that he has a softer side. And
Mm.
Jafar, he works for this other mage, and the mage has a daughter, and the daughter is really trying to prove herself. She's a young acolyte mage, and Jafar is tasked of just kind of babysitting essentially. And of course, he's very disgruntled about it at first, but as the game progresses and you get these cutscenes, you kind of pick up that they do kind of start building this relationship. And Jafar cares about her, wants to look after her. And what happens is he ends up becoming mortally wounded. And the pact of those bad guys is to, if you're hurt, leave him behind, go on.
Mm.
And this little mage character refuses and nurses him back to health and restores him. Well, towards the end of the game, later chapter in the game, the evil kind of sorceress at this point, she's done with her daughter. Her daughter was a tool, and she orders Jafar to kill this daughter. And for the first time in his life, he refuses the order, and he stands against the organization that he's been a part of his entire life, that he is one of the head members, and he goes head to head to protect this girl who is the only one that has shown him kindness his entire time being here. And so you start the chapter where your unit, it's kind of one of those like chess-based like tactics games. And
Okay.
so your units are way over here in the top right, and the only thing you see in the bottom left of the map is Jafar against like 30 dudes. And he's an assassin with incredibly busted stats, and he's just taking them out. And as kind of like a side mission, you can rescue the mage and bring the mage to talk to Jafar, and then Jafar joins you. And I
Ah.
and he's kind of been outlawed by his entire organization, and he stands by this mage who's his I guess only friend in the world. And I just kind of love that idea that you can be the most heinous, brutal villain, but you can be redeemed. That there can be someone or something that can redeem you and kind of bring you to the light. So, as a kid, like I was always like, oh, like Jafar is such a ba, such a cool dude, and that's always kind of resonated with me there with that character. So
Amazing answer. Yeah, no, so totally agree. Yeah, like you could be the most, yeah, heinous dude. And then, all it takes is one act of kindness, of love, and acceptance. And suddenly there's a redemption arc. And now you are like the greatest warrior triumphant, now fighting for good instead of evil. So, yeah, I love it. And then same sort of question. What's been one of your favorite side quest or B plot elements in movie, film, television, video games, etc.? And why is this your favorite side quest or B plot?
All right. Well, going back to another probably obscure video game here, Persona 4. I don't know if you've played that one, but a lot of fun. Came out for the PlayStation 2 originally, and in Persona 4, it's kind of like a dungeon crawler. There's a lot of other elements to it, but the main core mechanic is you find a dungeon, you climb floors, bosses at the top floor, right?
Okay.
Well, during your exploration, you will hear the sound of chains rattling. And what this turns out to be is there's this character that's called the Reaper. That for some reason, the Reaper hangs out in dungeons. And if you spend too much time on any individual floor, the Reaper will show up. And he's like the secret boss that's like stronger than like the last boss kind of thing.
Okay.
So you know you'll be in the first dungeon and the Reaper shows up and yeah you just lose. There's no chance. And eventually, towards the end of the game, you finally get the side quest to go hunt down the Reaper. And I always thought that that was really neat because you spend the entire game like you'll be playing, just having a good time, and you hear the chains. You're like, oh crap! Like I need to get off this floor. I need to get out of here. And they build kind of so much kind of fear and tension when that
Oh
happens.
yeah.
And then to finally like go seek that out, where you're like you're just walking in circles around a floor, like, all right, Reaper, let's go. I'm ready now, and so
Hmm.
I always thought that that was a ton of fun to kind of face that big bad unbeatable thing that's finally within reach.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that would be very terrifying. Of like, oh yeah, at lower levels, like you hear this noise and it's like game over. Don't even. And then like, okay, yeah, you get strong enough, and you're like, okay, yeah, I think I can take on death. Yeah, let's do this. Perfect. And then the way we round out the personal interview section of the episode, John, what are you passionate about and why?
Well, I would say that I'm passionate about being a father and working with kiddos, and that's kind of something that I found. I I mentioned kind of some of my work history before, and I really kind of in everything that I did, whether it was being that combat medic and then the Navy, or working with people and doing social work, or with the delinquent youth, is I loved working with people. And when I worked with kiddos for the first time, I found that a lot of times if you just listen and look at these different strategies to really relate, to in that time the kids that were having a hard time, that it was amazing how they open up to you. And I actually would use like board games and like really simple card games and things in my work there to kind of I just set up a game and like, hey, let's talk. And here's this hardened kid that has done some serious things, and now they're playing Uno with you, and they're kind of
Hmm.
opening up and things like that. So I found it was really amazing how you can relate just to people or to kiddos if you put a game in front of them. So I think that is kind of a big passion right now, is just building on that with the business and working with these kids. And it's really amazing to watch them grow. A lot of them have never played Dungeon Dragons before, and they kind of come in and they're timid, and you literally watch them blossom. You watch them make these relationships with other kids, and they all start kind of growing and building their backstories together. And like the one kid's dad was actually knew the other kid's brother, and they're and they it's amazing just to watch them grow and just to see like the adventure real like happen. So
Hmm. Wonderful. Well, I think we've learned a lot about our guest, and I think it's time we head into some NPC creation. And NPC creation is brought to you by you, the podcast audience, and our patrons from Patreon. That's right. Now is the time of the show where we give a shout out to our comfortable patrons and above with a loud hurrah. So, to you, our queen of the Patreon, uh, Katie Downey, aka Goblin Katie, as well as our other wealthy tier level patrons, Ansa Jablinski and good old mom and dad, we say cheers with the twisted tea that I've got. So promise I haven't smacked anyone with it. But yes, these fine folks donate at least $2 or more a month, which means they get a shout out on all of our episodes. And, that certainly carries weight considering I'm on a monthly schedule this season. And all these fine folks, since they're at least wealthy tier, means they get to introduce an element of chance to our random tables that we have here in NPC creation. So we might get to hear some of their responses used here today. So if you want to learn more about our awesome, wonderful, enthusiastic, albeit I need to catch up on very badly, and I welcome any and all gentle reminders about. Yeah, if you want to learn more about our Patreon, you should go to the show notes below, go to my podcast website, or just go directly to patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests to find out more about our 4 tiers of accommodation that we have awaiting for you. Help us to grow and expand our operations for the levitating platter in this demi-plane and worlds beyond. All right. So as we were starting to get the episode ready to hit all the record buttons and get all the audio and whatnot all fixed and set, yeah, we were trying to decide or explain the format of the show. So yeah, we're getting to this part where we make up a character, but the question becomes, are we going to go through a character that you have and you want to present and share with everyone? Or do you got your dice and you want to roll some dice and see what we get? Maybe they will soon to be featured in a Heroes Wanted Incorporated adventure for the kids or something.
Well, I would say if you're okay with it, I do have a character in mind. Like I said, I am forever the DM, never a player. So I do have a couple NPCs I've come up with that I are just very special to me, and I really feel like I haven't gotten a good chance to highlight them. So I do have one idea, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, totally. And the tables are here, so if we get to a question and you're like, "Oh, I don't actually know what this would be," then we can always just do a dice roll and we can randomize something and kind of see what we get. So
All right, perfect.
perfect. Okay, so then the way that we begin this process is we ask the question, "What is the name of the character?"
All right. So the name of this character is Fenn. That is Fenn. Just Fenn.
Just Fenn. Okay,
Just
Fenn. All right, perfect. And then what is the ancestry of Fenn?
All right. So Fenn is a shifter, actually, which is
Oh.
it is the offspring of a lycanthrope and a humanoid. So, um,
Yes, yes. I've used shifters a time or two. Do you know what particular kind of shifter they or like what kind of lycanthrope they are descended up from?
in this case, it would probably just be more of like the standard werewolf, like
Okay,
so.
so like a lupine or the wolf like
Mhm.
shifter. Okay, cool. Excellent. Okay, and then the next question we have to ask ourselves is, what is the job or role in society that Fenn the shifter has?
All right. Well, Fenn is actually a bit of I'd say like a hermit slash wild woman. Grew up on the outskirts, away from people and towns, and was kind of forced to fend for herself.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so she inhabits the hermit, outsider of town, wise one sort of role. It sounds like. Okay,
Well, and kind of going off that too, I originally designed this character as like a wild magic barbarian.
okay.
And the thing that I thought was she was forced to kind of live away from society because she was shunned because of her lineage,
Hmm.
and was forced to kind of raise herself. So shifters, according to the lore, they do mature incredibly quickly. So you're looking at like a fully matured like adult sized person at like age like 10, 12. So Fenn kind of lived out on the outskirts, fending for herself, just kind of rough and tumbling it, surviving, and had an exposure to I don't know some source of wild magic source, and kind of that ambient magic kind of became a part of her. So
Interesting.
mhm.
Okay, and then let's see. And then how old would you say that Fen is?
I would say probably like early 20s, maybe even late teens, somewhere in there.
Okay, so yeah, so like thoroughly in like the young adult camp, if
Hmm.
you had to like categorize it in a rough range. Okay, perfect. All right, and then with these details in mind, so we know Fen, we know that she's like a lupine wolfish shifter character. She's this hermit that's like a wild magic barbarian sort of a character, and she's in her late teens or early 20s as a young adult. With all these details in mind, can you paint a physical description? So when we see her, how is she going to appear?
All right. Well, the way that I envision Fen is with long black hair, with piercing green eyes, and kind of it's kind of where you can kind of see that feralness. Like if you look at creature in its eyes, kind of with that. and her entire body is covered in scars, just riddled. And
Ooh.
you can think like that typical barbarian, like athletic, lean build, And thing with Fenn is wears very little clothing, like not naked, but not like a big, pretty flowing dress. Just things
Mhm.
that are comfortable that she can move easily in.
Sorry, I was just thinking of like, oh yeah, she wears like a tracksuit or like sweatpants or something like that. Yeah, it's
Yep,
comfortable that she can move in
yep,
like
yep.
a lycra or gym workout clothes or something like that.
Whatever the D&D equivalent is, the jeggings of swiftness.
Yeah, or just the hides or yeah, whatever. Okay. Cool. Okay, so we got a good physical description of the character. Um, but for role playing purposes, obviously as a DM, we kind of want to know like what are three adjectives that would best describe Fenn to help us in our role playing of the character.
All right. Well, despite the the bestial appearance that can be a Fen, she is naive, whimsical, and bubbly.
Interesting. So yeah, not so I would expect like a hermit, this barbarian sort of sounding character to be like very gruff and like antisocial, but in actuality, she kind of sounds like a character that we made earlier on in our earlier seasons, Ata. So Ata was a character that we made, I think what, season 2, and she's right here. Because I have the schedule pulled up. Episode number 68, Ata and the Dovecote Cafe. So she was like this half orc, half dryad sort of a character. So like big and imposing, like
Mhm.
because the orcishness and the dryadness. But she spoke like a valley girl, and she was like very bubbly and whimsical and stuff like that. So I thought that was like, oh, that sounds like Ata. Like, yeah. So they would be buddies. It sounds like,
Yeah,
yeah.
sounds like it.
Yeah, okay, perfect. And that's just how she is. So she has not let her hermetic lifestyle just kind of like wear her down or make her jaded or anything like that. She's able to keep this like bubbly and whimsical yet naive sort of attitude about her.
I would say that it's kind of she's kept that attitude in spite of like being shunned for her lineage, never really having close friends, anything like that.
Mhm.
She's always wanted that. So literally every opportunity she has, she doesn't let the sadness take over, and will, even in the darkest situations, kind of look at the bright side of it. The one time I did get to use her, she was very much so like, hey, before we kill that guy, we should see if he wants to be our friend, because you never know.
Mm. Okay.
And so she's always looking at the bright side of things, and kind of not giving into that loneliness and that hermit lifestyle, even though that
I
was
see.
forced upon her.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I was trying to think of like for some reason my mind was going to Star Wars and like is there a difference between like how Obi-Wan approached it versus how Yoda approached it, where it was
Mhm.
like Yoda was totally happy being a hermit and was just as like I mean, by the time we see him in Empire Strikes Back, or we meet him for the first time, he definitely seems like he's kooky, or he's like silly and whimsical and stuff like that. But in actuality, that hides, his more serious and stern and wiser wisdom and knowledge that he has. Whereas like Obi-Wan is like, oh, I have to guard over Luke Skywalker, so I'm just gonna, as we saw in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, it was like, okay, I've got to assume this identity and this lifestyle here on Tatooine, and I just kind of like always have to be watching from a distance, sort of a thing. Kind of like two different ways of going about hermitness, I
Mhm.
suppose.
Yeah, and I would say too, like the interesting thing with this character is going to that lineage is it's kind of what's led to being the hermit is, society being afraid of what she can do, but
Hmm.
she was forced to kind of go into that more feralness to survive. So, she's happy go lucky bubbly, but there still is this inner beast that could come out if necessary. And
Mm.
I think especially with the barbarian, that's an interesting thing to get into, of because the barbarian rage is typically like, I'm so angry, I'm fighting hard, but in this case with her going to that, like the wild magic is when she rages, it's just like this whimsy and laughter as there's a cascade of sparkles all around her. And with the wild magic barbarian, just random stuff happens when you rage.
Mm. I
So
was gonna say I never watched it, but it sounds very much like that Harley Quinn, the Harley Quinn movie, where it's like big and splashy, and like you're seeing things
mhm.
from her perspective, where she's swinging around this big hammer or whatever, but like all the carnage or stuff then is like happening on in the background, but it's like big splashy colors. Or I can see it here on my computer, the logo for Team Fortress 2 when they released the trailer for Meet the Pyro, and you saw it was like like a 60s hippie song, and Pyro's going around like, oh, I'm blowing bubbles on everyone. But in actuality, it's cutting to the reality, and it's like Pyro's going around with a flamethrower and like decimating the other team. And they're like, oh, the horror. And it's like, oh, look at me, just whimsy and fun,
Mhm.
sort of a juxtaposition.
Yeah, no, I'm following that exactly. Yeah, she's just giggling the entire time, swinging around whatever heavy thing she could pick up.
Perfect. And this would be the part normally when people are randomizing, and I get to say, and now I get to go back to rolling some dice. But we like all of our NPCs to be able to have something cool on their person. So I know sometimes with bringing your own character, this may encompass several categories, but what's a valuable item, piece of lore, secret, or ideal or concept that Fenn would ascribe to? So if you're looking to randomize it, it's a combination roll where we do it like a D4 and a D6 to get the category and the particular thing. Or, like I said, since you're bringing us the character, there might be a couple of things at play here. So you could just let us know, what are some of those cool things that are on her person?
I would say let's go ahead and let's add a little bit of whimsy to this, and let's roll. So you said that was a D4 and a
D6.
D4 and a D6. Okay,
Correct.
let me go ahead and get those dice out here, and we'll see what we get.
Yeah.
All right, I got a 4 on the D6 and a 2 on the D4.
Ooh, okay, interesting. So your answer was suggested by our previous Patreon supporter there. Thank you, Nicholas Cardarelli of the Raised on D&D podcast. So the ideal or concept that Fenn would ascribe to, she places importance on the existence of non-human spiritual beings.
That seems kind of fitting.
Yeah, so what is that all about? How does that speak to Fenn's character, if you will?
So this was non spiritual,
Non-human
non
spiritual beings.
human. I would say that this may go directly into that kind of lore backstory there, where whatever this, this could have been like maybe a bit of the Feywild kind of bleeding over to this plane or something. But wherever she encountered that wild magic, maybe her only friends, were those spirits that talked to her, that couldn't physically be there, but still was just something to talk to.
Interesting. And so if she's from an area that maybe doesn't really have knowledge of or acknowledge the Feywild and stuff like that, so the town, because they're scared of her because of like her lineage, as we've established, but it's also like, oh, she's the crazy hermit that lives on the edge of the woods because she goes on about fearbolgs, and she goes on about elves and all these other sorts of whimsical creatures that come from the Feywild that the regular townsfolk don't care about, don't have knowledge about, or they're just going to leave her to her unicorns and dryads and whatever else she's going to go on about. But that has nothing to do with us in the town.
I would say too, even going to that naivety of like the child, because she is a child, or I guess a teen maybe in this case. But maybe she doesn't even know what those things are. Like she doesn't know that it's a furbolg, or doesn't know it's an elf or something. It's just, oh, my friend Timmy. Yeah, Timmy's a great guy. He's got ears like this, and so maybe even leading into that, where she's not even quite sure what she's been communicating with or engaging in.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's very cool. Yeah. So then, depending on the setting that we find Fenn in, especially if it's more like human centric sort of a situation, she's going on about all these creatures like from the Feywild, and like, placing the importance of their existence. So, kind of like how we might say, like, oh yeah, pixies and fairies and Bigfoot and Loch Ness monster, like these things are real. I see them. I play with them and hang out with them all the time. And then the players are like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they journeyed further into the forest, and they're like, oh, she wasn't kidding. There's a unicorn right there. There's a tall walking living tree, a treant right there. Like we thought those things were only in fairy tales. Like now They're really real.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, that I find that that's kind of really kind of coming together perfectly there. So
Yeah, and that's what the dice do. They're random dice rolls, but the dice know what story they want to tell.
absolutely.
And then, of course, we like all of our NPCs on this podcast to be able to have the bright gold exclamation point over their head offering up a side quest. So, what is going to be a quest that Fenn would be willing to recruit or hire player characters to go and do on her behalf? So, again, if you're looking to randomize, the last dice to roll would be a d12, or if you have an idea of what Fenn needs help with, what would that be?
I do have an idea for this one.
Okay.
And what I was thinking here was a bit of a mistaken identity. So
Okay.
there is another perhaps lycanthrope or creature that's been terrorizing the town, nearby settlement, whatever.
Hmm.
And Fenn's been taking the blame for it, but would like to get
Oh.
to the bottom of the real culprits.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, things are going wrong in the town. Livestock are being attacked. People are being attacked, and they're blaming her because oh yeah, she's the shifty wolf girl that lives on the edge of town, and no one trusts her. And then so she asks the player characters for help to investigate and get to the bottom of the crime.
Yep.
Okay. Is she going to go along with the adventure, or is she just going to purely have the adventurers go and like go figure it out herself? Because I'm just remembering from earlier, like when you said, "Oh, when you deployed her," she was like, "Are you sure you want to kill that thing?" So maybe she's just very curious to like find out what this thing is. Because maybe it just needs a talking to, and it could be my friend. Like like here's a full blown werewolf or something like that that's going on. And she's like, "Well, I'm part werewolf, or I'm like descended from werewolves. Surely this thing will want to be my friend."
I would say that I do have her in my notes like curious to a fault, so I think she would absolutely want to go on, and whether it's to take out whatever this creature is or just to talk to it, see what's going on,
Yeah.
So and
Okay.
I know doing Dungeon Dragons too is you can always plan for a fight or an encounter, and your players will always surprise you. And so I've learned it's kind of nice to have those options open too, whether you're going to attack that enemy or talk to them and see what's going on. So
Right. It definitely, yeah, I track with that as far as like, oh yeah, she totally wants to hire the player characters to come with her on the adventure, because she wants to figure out and get to the bottom of this. And so then there's the encounter with this creature, whether it's a werewolf or some other lycanthrope creature. And then yeah, then there's the confrontation of whether it's going to be just a merely dialogue heavy interlude or if it does break out into a fight. So it seems like there's, I don't know, kind of some interesting scenarios to consider when we ask the question, what's going to be the reward for the side quest? If the players are successful in helping her with this, this investigation and getting to the bottom of it, like I don't know. Do you imagine that the reward's going to be different versus like, hey, they went the more peaceful route, and so they talked to this thing and befriended it, or they were like, oh, they figured out this thing was bad, uh, and they tried talking to it and negotiating, and it didn't work out, and so a fight broke out, or the players just went straight to fighting. I don't know. What's going to be the what would you consider to be the reward for the side quest?
I was thinking that, and just kind of going back to Fenn herself, that she's kind of absorbed whatever this radiant wild magic is, from where she lived in the forest or whatever, and that she would give the group, whatever ends up happening, whether it's a fight or whatever, as long as they help Fenn, that she would give them one of her most prized possessions, which is a amulet that is the only remaining thing from her mother. And this amulet is also kind of absorbed some of that wild magic. And this is an item that I love to use in my games, a homebrew item, but it's either the ring or the necklace of wild magic. And
Mm,
kind of like once or twice per day as a bonus action, you just roll on a wild magic table and see what happens, and chaos ensues, and whether it's good or bad or anything like that. So that's kind of what I had in mind there.
okay, so she's willing to part with a magic item that, with a bonus action, once or twice, dungeon master to determine how many
Yeah.
times a day. But you roll on a wild magic table, and then some effect happens, and then that's the item.
Yeah, and like I said, I've use this item in some campaigns I've done before, and it's usually hilarious. It's a do or die moment. The troll's about to TPK the entire party, and the warlock's orb of wild magic and rolls on the table, and then 2d6 snakes also show up. you
Right.
know, and it's like, oh well,
Snake attack, and
yeah,
you just
yeah.
throw the snakes on the troll. Yeah.
So it's really fun in my experience, but it's if as a DM you want to deal with that level of chaos.
Okay. But then we also have to consider the opposite. What's going to be the consequence of failure or refusing the call to the adventure? Maybe, well, I mean, yeah, well, I mean, depending on how you introduce her, because she could be coming into town and not anyone's interacting with her. They're
Mhm.
like, hissing, like, get away, get out of here. And she comes to the players for help and they say, ooh, no thanks. I don't want to do this. Or it would seem weird if they have to travel all the way to her hut and then they refuse her then. It seems more like she comes up to them in the town, like one of the few times she comes into the town and they like refuse her. Or if I don't know, like she's trying to go about the peaceful route, but then they decide, this isn't worth it, and they decide to just kind of attack, go against her wishes or whatever. um, what would you consider to be the failure of the adventure, or the consequences of failure or refusing the call to the adventure?
I would say that the whatever the true culprit was, we talked about another lycanthrope or another beast, another creature, whatever it is,
Hmm.
that that Fenn is blamed for the attacks, and this may turn into a the mayor is like, hey, there's this crazy hermit feral thing on the edge of town. It's been attacking our people. Go deal with that, which could be interesting. So
So the townspeople are rallied into a mob against poor Fenn, and then Fenn is scapegoated, and then I don't know her fate. Well, I mean, dungeon masters can always be
mhm.
creative with her fate. If you take the more gruesome, like, oh no, she sacrificed, to for the sins of the town or whatever, or oh, she flees into the forest, she gets more feral, she gets more angry, she becomes the antagonist of the town,
Yeah.
or I don't know, maybe she's just heartbroken and sad, and then she's just left wandering the roads and the woods and stuff like that, and she's just super bummed out and just heartbroken for everything that's happened. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, there's a number of different ways it could go
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
I think that's the interesting thing is it could be spun like a variety of ways, and how they react to Fend. I think it comes down to the players on how they would interact with that.
Hmm.
I think that whatever happens if Fenn is defeated or ran out of town or whatever, that the thing was is the attacks would still continue,
Ah,
which may be the, oh, we may not have done the right thing here, you know.
yeah.
So
Would there be a chance of redemption or earning her trust back if it was that situation of like, oh, we acted too hate, like the town was like, oh, we acted too hastily, we called this totally wrong, and would she be willing to come back? Do you think?
I would say yes. I would say kind of to a fault having that optimism, and in giving those second chances that maybe she's never been given. That
Hmm.
absolutely it'd be like, hey, we're sorry, we messed up, and she's like, okay, just don't do it again,
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then for sure, it's like Fen. We really need to talk about this. Like, make sure you're not being gaslit here by the town or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was the one time I used her in my group. Is that was the interesting thing is because of that naivety, the group almost took her in, and then she began to take on, like, emulate what she saw of the group, and it was a really neat thing because we were playing with adults, so would get kind of murder hobo-y sometimes,
Hmm.
and then role playing Fen, she's kind of getting murder hobo-y, and they're like, oh wait, we shouldn't be teaching Fen this, and it was
Hmm.
interesting to see the players kind of think about how they portrayed things to Fen while she was along with the group.
Interesting. Okay. So you see that there's a potential, maybe even she could become like a retainer or like a follower or a hireling sort of a character that goes along with the group and joins in their adventures potentially.
Yeah, I would say absolutely until she found her place, because that's all she's looking for is a place where she's accepted and that she can finally have those friends that she's never had.
Hmm. Yeah, my answer would be like she just finally gets to go to the Feywild, and then she finds like a tribe of lycanthropes that just dance and make revelry and just hang out in the woods and just party hardy. And she's like, "Great, I found my people. This
Yep,
is
yep.
it." Yeah.
That's it.
And then we also have some optional questions as well that if you feel like you want to explore even further, the background and the depths of Fenn as a character, or if you feel like she's pretty well fleshed out, we can move on to the next section.
You're a lot more experienced with this than I am. Did you think we have enough here to work on, or should we dig deeper?
I mean, it's your call. You're the guest. This is your episode and your show. So, I mean, sometimes, people get really invested in the NPCs and, they're, especially if someone has like brought them to us to share with the world. It's like they really want to dive into these noodly questions that are like more specific to give you like more, more meat and hunk on them. But otherwise, I feel in formulating the show and really just being like, these are good questions to ask, but like really if like a dungeon master or a player character needs someone for their backstory, they're like, no, these are the questions that I need to really have answers for
Mhm.
if I'm going to deploy them. And then if, the dungeon master can certainly invent, their particular accents or idiosyncrasies or goals and motivations and stuff like that. But sometimes people want to know that up front because it gives them a better idea of how to portray the character. But yeah, it's your call. Whatever
Yeah,
you feel most inspired.
I feel like let's go deep. Let's do these extra questions. Let's really flesh out Fenn.
Sure. So, what are Fenn's goals and motivations as a character?
So I would say it just goes back to that she doesn't want to be alone. She doesn't want to be ostracized. She doesn't want to be that hermit.
Hmm.
And like I said, really wants to find a place where she's accepted. And I think that ultimately Fenn wants to do right, but may not know how to do it. That's the thing is with not having that socialized approach, she, may not know how to talk to people or, but, may not know how to handle scenarios. And she may think she's helping someone, but in fact, doing more damage in helping. So
Okay. And so, then how would you say that these goals and motivations affect her general personality?
like I said before, like very bubbly with that forced optimism. I would go on the line of almost annoying. Like it's like that person where like it's a great day, everything's great, and it's raining and everything's muddy, and I'm just so glad to be here with everybody. And it's like, Fenn, stop. Like it's not.
Would you say like a toxic positivity in a way?
I would, yeah, yeah. I would say kind of that toxic positivity.
Yeah, so she's really got to learn some hard lessons, so actually bonding. So it'll be interesting. Yeah, depending on what group encounters are like, does she get the group, the band of murder hobos, or does she get like the fresh faced out of the adventuring academy people
Mhm.
that are like all textbook knowledge that are trying to apply those lessons in real life? Yeah. So she would be an interesting first case for them to crack.
Yeah, yeah, and I think too, like kind of going off of that, like naivety too, is like I've had in my notes like she can't read. There's a lot of things that she'll see and have no idea what it is, and I think that makes for, for parties that are into role play, that makes there some really interesting like role play opportunities
Mm,
there.
okay, yeah. And so then how would you say that Fenn normally interacts with people? Is she like pretty nuanced or is she or is what we see is what we get? She's like the same across the board no matter what group of people that she's speaking with. Like, friends and family versus, peers and enemies and rivals, et cetera, et cetera.
I would say like with friends, family, peers, that she's like super bubbly, kind of clingy, I would say, even, like you're my buddy, and she's there. And I would say that when it comes to a fight, because there is that feral survival, that how she grew up, that's kind of where you see that shifter beast come out in a fight.
Mm,
And it's kind of like flipping that switch, you know and I think especially with the barbarian, that's an interesting thing to play on is, when, because her rage is kind of that whimsy we talked about, but can that rage go darker, more bestial
mhm.
when she needs it to?
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. And then does she have a particular accent or language that she uses? Are there any idiosyncrasies in how she acts or speaks?
I would say you had kind of talked about it before, kind of like that Valley Girl, just thought, hey, how's it going? Like, just that bubbly kind of happy. I would say as long as you're going along with that, I think a big inspiration for this character was Lulu from League of Legends.
Okay.
So that's kind of like the voice that I hear there.
Okay. I don't have any League of Legends reference. I know that was a
Gotcha.
game that came out again in like my college years, and it's talk about toxic for all kinds of different reasons with that
Oh yeah,
fandom.
yeah.
Uh, but
No,
but okay.
yeah, I spent way too much time playing that game for sure. Don't play anymore. I don't have the time for it. But yeah, when I was younger, it was cheap and it was there, and yeah. So, but yeah, if you look it up, Lulu is I think Lulu's backstory too is she was raised by fairies or something. So it's
Hmm.
all about the whimsy and the wonder of the world. So
I see. And then for Fenn, what impact has she made on the world? How has she shaped her local area?
I would say in this case, it's kind of like that local legend, like we talked about, like the weird hermit at the edge of the forest, or the beast in the forest, kind of like the thing told to kids so they don't go out too late at night. Don't go out of the forest because there's the beast that lives there. So I would say that not really impacting the world in a big way, but definitely that local area that there's kind of this mysticism, that goes around on who Fenn is or what Fenn is.
Hmm. Okay. And then does she have any current problems that prevent her from being an even bigger player on the stage? Is it the ostracization?
I would, and this is campaign dependent, because some campaign settings are more accepting of the different lineages of D&D characters. So
Mhm.
I think that would depend on what the campaign setting is. I think that in the local area, that yeah, she's ostracized, but maybe everywhere she goes, maybe seeing this half beast, half person is always a negative.
Mm.
So
Okay. Well, it sounds like we've learned a lot then about Fenn, our little happy hermit. And I think it's time we throw her into a random encounter.
ooh, right.
This random encounter is brought to you by my sponsor, Zencastr. How do I use Zencastr? Well, that's the service that I'm using right now to be able to record my episodes of the podcast. It's what allows me to capture it all, put it into my editing machines on my new computer to get it processed and put forth onto the interwebs and podcast land for you all to enjoy. I was able to take part of this service, all thanks to my buddies Benjamin Huffman and Dane Fox McGraw over at the Dispel Magic podcast. And if you were at this time in your life wondering what can I be doing, what sort of hobbies or things that I could be branching out to, well, I'm here to talk to you today about Zencastr. It's so easy. It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen. Knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. You can sound your best. Have you ever wondered what you might sound like? Well, Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically works to remove those filler words in your recordings, and it makes those awkward pauses in conversation dip out as well. You can set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with a click of a button. It's all in one, so if you've thought about podcasting before and realize that you need a lot of different tools and services these days in order to do a podcast, well, I can assure you that those days are done. With Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform, you can create your podcast all in one place and distribute it to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code SIDEKQ podcast, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Again, go to zencastr.com/pricing, use my code SIDEKQ podcast, get that 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. Thank you so much for listening to this ad and for supporting the sponsor. It helps to support the show. And without further ado, on with the podcast. All right. And so this is the part of the episode that's the random encounter. It's where we do a little role play vignette, a scene with the character that's been brought to us today. So I think you're going to do a fantastic job of showing us what Fenn is all about. But the question that I have is, who am I going to be in the scene? Am I going to be one of my reoccurring adventurer characters that meets Fenn and gets the side quest? Am I some sort of townsperson that's interacting with her or reacting against her? Is this something to do with the wild magic origin to her barbarianness? Or I don't know. What sort of scene are you interested in showcasing and showing off Fenn in?
I would think let's go with the adventurer, kind of encountering Fenn for the first time.
Okay. Well, we definitely have a big old Rolodex of characters to choose from. So if I go through them rather quickly, we have Duncan. He's the recklessly brave adventurer for hire, fighter background as battle master fighter, as I chose in Baldur's Gate 3. But yes, happy-go-lucky, no feat too daring, no mission too small, sort of a guy. Chaotic goodness just sort of follows him. Chaos follows him wherever he goes.
Ooh,
We have
okay.
Sonia, who is the warrior woman. She started off as a barbarian and then multiclassed into a paladin who serves a god who wishes to redeem the undead. We have Korak, who is the lawful evil arcane trickster roguish dwarf. We have Chrisley, who is the herbalist botanist wood elf druid, who then multiclassed into a cleric who serves living memory. We have Orion, who is the astral elf illusionist wizard. We have Agape, who is the lilac colored tiefling Sorlock. She started off as a wild magic sorcerer, and then she made a warlock pact with, again, she refers to, and I have for now a long time been missaying the name. She says Prosperina, but really the name of the archfey is Proserpina, like from Greek myth. So that's my fault for the longest time. But you know what? That's just in character as Agape. She just calls her Prosperina, but that's not really her name. And then also we have Lifespell. He is the forest gnome necromancer, old man, and he has Octavius, his skeletal manservant that he has. And then there also was one bard character that we made, Amblin Mithril Shaper, who showed up in one of our earlier adventures. But we haven't seen her since. It's been a little while, which is fine. But those are all the named characters that I'm pretty sure I got them all named and all that sort of stuff. But if none of those characters speak to you, then we are certainly welcome and open to inventing brand new adventurer characters for the podcast.
You know, I would say let's go Duncan. I feel like there'd be like a bit of a rivalry there, and maybe they could get along out of the gate, but it could go either way, you know? So that really kind of stood out to me.
Okay, so you would like Fenn to meet Duncan.
Yes.
Okay, and then would you like to set the scene or shall I?
I will. Why don't you set the scene for us?
Okay. Where we last left our hero Duncan. Duncan had come across the swamp town and he came to the school, and all the kids were behind the school because they were getting lessons from a Mizel named Corazon, who was teaching cantrips to all the kids. And Duncan undertook the mission for the kids, for the sake of the children, who wanted to learn more cantrips. Duncan had to make his way into the swamps and find the hut of a green hag. And he had to steal the sourdough starter, like that was 100 years old. And then as well, there were several spell books that had been acquired from the corpses of some wizards and such. So that way Corazon could then memorize the cantrips and then be able to use those to teach the kids. So through that harrowing Baldur's Gate 3 sort of anti-Ethel sort of stages of going through that whole fight with his allies at his side, because he totally called them in. Of course he would. But yeah, he totally had a successful fight against a green hag and came back and helped all the kids and then went on his merry way. And not too much further away from the swamps, coming back to idyllic country and forest and rolling hills, and oh, it seems like a nice town and all that stuff. But where is Duncan going to stumble upon Fenn?
I would say maybe even a random encounter just on the road. Fenn's
Okay.
Fenn's looking for friends at every opportunity. So maybe it's like you're walking down the road and there's no traveler, no wagons for miles, and you turn around and now there is a wolf woman standing there.
No. Hello. Wow, you just sort of snuck up on me. Hello there. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing really well. What's your name?
Ah, my dear, who am I? And he reaches into a pocket and he pulls out a business card. And again, he doesn't know that she can't read, but he's like, yes, this says it all. I am Duncan, the adventurer for hire. No tasks too big, no feat too daring. And he starts going on and on. And the business card says like, the same thing. Adventurer for hire. And that he is the proud sponsor of a stone cast in the local region, from a pair of siblings that are fantasy game designers that make use of Magic Mouth Pod Stonecasts in some of the nearby major settlements. So he's mentioned as these things, and so he's starting to go through like, yes, I'm the slayer of this, and I did this mission, and I did that. So he's starting to go through like his whole thing of qualifications,
Okay.
and he'll keep going until Fenn stops him.
I would say that Fenn will take that card, obviously upside down, and she's like, and like looking at it. And then Fenn is going to start kind of looking him up and down, kind of walking around, circling him while he's doing these, talking about his accolades and what he's done and everything. And then she's going to start like sniffing him, like having no idea of personal space, but, and, she'll probably do this. I don't know if it'll bother him, but she'll probably continue to do this while he's talking, and until he kind of acknowledges it.
Oh yeah, so he's going on, and so she starts doing the smelling thing, and he kind of like stops and quirks his head a little bit, and he's like, "Are you all right, madam? Seems well." And he's like, "Well." He's starting to get a little fidgety, and he's just kind of like, well, what would Daisy say? My goodness, I thought she. So he's trying to do the thing like in the police song, like, don't stand so close to me. So he's like trying to create some distance and like make sure he's being proper and chaste and honorable and all that stuff. But he's coming at it more of like a what would Daisy say, my fair patron from the city, who I told you about, who I went on the grand epic adventure to find the Crescent's Edge, and so now she's in the possession of it, and she said she had a lovely time with me. Yes, she said that she might want to perchance give me a smooch one of these days, don't you know?
Well, you smell funny. I wonder if Daisy thought you smelled funny too. I mean, it's not bad. It's just different. It's just not
You know,
from around
when
here.
I was at the party that I got invited to, she did say that she could still smell the dungeon on me. She is a dragon herself. She appears as an Aldatu, one of the half celestials, but she's actually a silver dragon.
Wow, a silver dragon?
Yes.
Is
Going
that
to magic school and all that. Yeah, and he's about to start telling you the whole backstory of all this young dragon that he became a hired adventurer for, to go on this grand epic adventure in this temple with this ancient religious artifact.
I would say that Fenn is like eating this up at this point, and I would say, funny enough, they've probably started walking again, and now like
Hmm.
walking in step with each other,
Yeah.
whatever direction that Duncan was going, and Fenn is just kind of prodding more information, just wanting to hear about these travels, fully believing them, not
Yeah.
not questioning whatsoever, but like, oh, and then what happened, and then who did you see, and then just really trying to get as much information and interaction as she can.
Yeah, and he's using it also as an as a way to explain some of the gear, because he definitely kind of like in Baldur's Gate 3 or some of these other RPGs where you like, I clearly picked this gear because it gives me the best stats, not that it's necessarily the best aesthetics. So he's like, yeah, this contraption on this arm, this is a wrist-mounted grappling hook contraption. I can use it to like grab things from a distance and pull it close. And he's like, this wooden spoon, it is the spoon of justice. a halfling woman gave this to me, and I haven't. It still fills me with a sense of dread and omen, knowing that a bunch of maternal wrath is stored in it. But haven't quite found the situation to use this. Oh, I can fly a certain number of times a day thanks to Lily the narwhal acorn. And so and these shoes were made by a wonderful pair. Some sort of cranky sort of I don't know, like what was he called? I think he was he was like a deathlock. No, what was it? He was a sorcerer fellow, or an undead warlock fellow of some archfey. Yes, but he worked with a Vidalkin who was a coin minter, and these fantastic loafers that have magic coins in them that just make me stronger and faster. And so, again, he's pointing out all the different mismatched sort of like equipment that he has, but it gives him all these really cool, awesome stats. And so, just basically hyping up his resume and stuff like that.
And then for kind of me to visualize here, does Duncan wear like heavy armor? Is he wear like leather armor? Like what is his, I guess, loadout? Because he's a fighter, correct?
Yeah, I know in Baldur's Gate 3 terms, I made him as a battle master fighter.
Okay.
With the lucky stat, because chaos,
of course, yeah.
chaos always follows him. Yeah. So I don't know if I actually thought about the particular armor that he wears, but probably like basic, like if he hasn't found something to replace it with, and he's probably just still like in his like initial battered and well worn armor that's it's served him this well. Maybe he's had to get a couple pieces repaired and stuff like that over time, but like he sees it as a testament to his skill that like, oh yeah, this is like basic armor, but like this has gotten me this far, and I've got a bunch of other stuff that helps me to compensate otherwise.
Wait, so I'm confused. So you say that you're really great and you're really strong and you've done all these things, but are you strong or is it just your stuff that makes you strong? Because I'm really strong and I don't need magic spoons or loafers of coinage or anything like that. So, like, are you actually strong?
Oh, now for the first time, I think Duncan's just kind of been like, "Madam, you insult me. I'm, I will have you know before got even any of this stuff that I was the strongest man in my town that I was from. I was too big for my town. That's why I had to go out on the road and go do all these other things to prove myself. Well, for me, not for anyone else, but for me, a testament to myself, my skills. And I don't know. He looks around for something to test his strength. Maybe he finds well some sort of like big 2x4 or something like that, and he's just kind of like, "Huh!" And because of the magic from the loafers and all the other stuff, he gets a 2x4 and he literally just like breaks it over his knee like it's like he's just snapping a twig. He's like, "Ha ha! See."
I would say that Fenn's like, yeah, I see, but that's not really anything crazy, and she'll probably walk over and replicate it just with that barbarian strength,
Mhm.
just shouting it to, and she's like, see, I can do that. I don't have stuff.
Ah. Ugh. Hmm. Now he starts to think like, oh, well, I better watch my words carefully with this one because I don't want to get her angry and upset. And maybe by this point, to help highlight the fact of her ostracization from the town, because now they've snapped like two perfectly decent 2x4s. Some people start coming over, they're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing messing with it? And Duncan's like, I'm sorry. My strength was being called into question. It's me, Duncan. Hello, hello. He starts handing out business cards, and people are like half ignoring the fact that he's trying to like ease things over. So maybe his persuasion is kind of like his persuasion check that he makes is kind of like middle of the road, where some of them are impressed, but most of them are just more concerned of the fact of like you're destroying stuff in the town, and also you're with this girl that is nothing but trouble. And so he's just like trying to quiet the people down, like, I'm sorry, look, like I'm very rich. Like, and he's like, here, and he like reaches into a pouch and he like pulls out some coinage and he's like, I'm sorry, who owns this fence? You. And he just slaps like 30 gold in this guy's hand. Like, that should cover it, right? Like, you should be fine.
I would say during this, like, Fenn visibly wilts at being called out, and it's kind of like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We were so he said he was strong, but he wasn't really seem strong, but I guess he is kind of strong. So I was showing how strong I am, but we can fix it. And she's trying to like put the two by fours back together, and of course probably damaging more in the process, or leaning on the fence too much and the fence breaks another piece or something. And you can see just Fenn trying her best while he's trying his best, I guess, to kind of throw money at the situation.
Right. Yeah. I think the chaos is building on itself between these two characters. So what's the fever pitch? What happens? Does a wild magic effect go off?
I would say, let's say that someone becomes very angry at the fence, being damaged, and yeah, Fenn would probably go to that wild magic, and something happens. We can roll a table.
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Let's see here. And did you want to go off the wild magic barbarian table, or just
Yeah,
just
that's
the?
fine.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and roll. And let's see what happens as Fenn becomes more and more flustered. And I rolled a 6 here. So, until your rage ends, you are surrounded by a multicolored protective light. You gain a +1 to your AC, and all allies within 10 feet of you also gain the same bonus.
So then the light just kind of starts shimmering out. And so does she consider Duncan an ally at this point?
I would say with the time that they've spent, I would say yes. Yeah, she's already kind of attached. She was really trying to make an impression, and not knowing how to approach social situations came from the, well, you don't look strong, but she's trying really hard. So
Mhm.
yeah, this kaleidoscope rainbow effect of lights just shoots out around her, kind of covering her entire body, and also now covering Duncan, who is handing gold out, but now shimmering with a prismatic effect.
Yeah, so it probably stands to reason that the townspeople freak out because they're like, ah, magic. And then they flee in terror. Probably, because this isn't a normal occurrence. And so Duncan's like, wait, come back. I have more money. I'm sorry about this. It's okay, it'll be fine. And he's just and I think Duncan, to showcase his goodness, is just gonna turn to Fenn and be like, it's all right. Calm down. We're good. I have a friend, she's a tiefling, and she gets hot and she burns. And it's okay. Like you're cool. And he like helps doing his part to like calm her down.
Yeah, I would say, like, in that flustered moment, trying to fix the fence, the two by fours. That's kind of where this wild magic effect came from, and she kind of, okay, 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 breathe, 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 and like the rainbow kind of fades away,
Mhm.
and she says, "Listen, we're friends, right? Like,
Of course, like naturally, yes.
okay, perfect. So, everyone's kind of scared of me, and they stay away. I don't want you to go away too. So, um,
Oh, that Duncan's heart breaks a little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
hearing that.
So yeah, maybe we should go back to the forest, or back down the road, and we could talk more. And you can tell me about your adventures and where you've been, and about your loafers.
Hmm. Duncan will roll his insight check, and this time he actually does pretty well on his insight check, and so he'll just kind of be like, "So the townspeople are afraid of you. Is there something going on that would make them believe that you're a threat to them? You don't, no offense to you. I mean, you are certainly strong, but you do not strike me as the type of person who would actually be mean spirited or wish harm on people. So is there something that's going on?"
W- Well, I just don't think they understand me. And I really want them to be my friends. I want to show them that I'm nice, but sometimes I break things. One time I think I hurt somebody. We were trying to arm wrestle, and he wasn't very strong. Um, so they're just kind of scared. And then sometimes, like you saw, just things happen around me. I don't know why, but whenever I get really flustered or upset, like, things happen. Like, I'll shoot beams out of my chest, or a bunch of flowers and vines will grow around me, and I guess people don't like that.
Hmm. Yes. I mean, yes. Okay. Yes. You have a bit of the Feywild that follows you. It seems. Yes. I've been there a time or two myself. Don't you know? I can just naturally smell that on you. Don't you know? But I don't know. It seems like they reacted more than just that, because we live in a world where all sorts of crazy things happen on the street every day. In the big cities, they advertise the fact that, oh, you can do magic and you can go to this store and buy scrolls and stuff like that. But no, with my seasoned adventuring mind, no, this seems. Are you being blamed for something?
Well, there's been some attacks, and I think like something's been eating uh some cows. I think some chickens went missing, and one of the woodcutters didn't come back to town, and I think they think it was me, but I've never eaten anyone that I knew. I mean, I've had to eat some weird things, but that it wasn't like a townsperson.
Hmm. Okay. And still going off his insight check, Duncan believes her. He has no reason to think otherwise. But he's just kind of like, okay, so there's a mystery afoot. So you're being blamed for something that you're not doing, and there's some bigger adventure to be had in this town. Yes. And he looks at the nearby sign, and maybe the name for the town just kind of like and it like falls down in disrepair. 'Cause it's like the idea being like, oh, this town has seen better days. It's like, well, this town has a mystery on its hands, and it's a fine adventurer like me to help solve it. So yes, I'll take you up on your offer. Let's go to your house and reconnoiter and gather all the intelligence and begin our investigation at once.
Well, you want to come to my house? Well, it's not
Sure, if it saves me money, why not?
okay. Well, it's not really a house, but it's kind of like a nest is a good word for it. I mean,
Hmm.
I live there, but like there's not a door or anything. Is that okay?
As long as it's nicer than a green hag's hut, I'll take it.
All right. It'll be like a sleepover. My first sleepover. And kind of this point, kind of arm in arm, like just dragging Duncan towards Fenn's abode.
And scene. So we did it. What did you think it was like getting to play Fenn in that scene with Duncan?
I think it was a ton of fun. I think always you with me, I'm like, I want to see where this goes. I want to see what happens here, you know? So I am excited for that. But yeah, no, I think that went really good.
Yeah. No, yeah. It definitely seems like they're kindred spirits, like siblings separated in a way. Kind of like they're definitely feeding off of each other's energy for sure. Like maybe not intentional one-upsmanship, but it's just kind of like, oh, you're chaotic, I'm chaotic. Our chaotics are bouncing off of each other, sort of a thing. So if the two of them were in a party together, it would be hijinks and chaos the entire time.
Which is always fun, right?
Right.
Yeah, and the thing that I found interesting too is I was expecting Duncan, especially with like the insult, to his strength.
Mhm.
I was wondering if that would actually result in conflict, like, well, you call me out, who are you, So
Mm.
I thought it was interesting how that kind of played out.
Yeah. Well, Duncan, as you listen to the back catalog of episodes where Duncan started way back when, meeting Dolly the Treant cartographer, to now, he's been to a number of realms, and he's even traveled to the Forgotten Realms once. And I guess technically, with being my first playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, for sure has like some variant history there within the Forgotten Realms, for sure. But it's also been established canonically within the podcast as well. So, Duncan has been a couple of places and seen some things in his life, let me tell you.
All right. Well,
So he's a little more understanding and easygoing. So like, yeah, I mean, sure, someone wants to call him out on his strength, and he can just be like, well, I am a high level fighter by now. I've done all the side quests. I've grinded away at the side quests and avoided the main plot for so long that I'm just like way overpowered at this point and completely ridiculous looking.
yeah. Plus he has the loafers, so.
He does have the magic loafers, which, again, for those of you curious what in the world I'm talking about, you would want to go into our back catalog and listen to episode number 60, Rock Folio and Penny Loafers is the name of that episode, where you can get some interesting gear. Get yourself some deerskin loafers with I'm forgetting the name, Kulva. I'll have to go back and listen to the episode myself to figure out the name of the actual magic coins themselves. But yeah, it was like the magic coins boosted a stat, but the drawback was that because because it was Folio who was like the undead Feywild, the undead Archfey Warlock character. Aren't those called Deathlocks? I think in the game.
Think so, yeah.
Yeah, because he's like a Deathlock, he had to put like a trick or like some sort of curse on the loafers, and so it makes you more susceptible to the command spell. And it also makes it harder, like for you to want to take the loafers off. So every time there's been a scene where it's like, it's like, oh, and then you see him in like these deerskin loafers, like penny loafers, essentially. It's like imagine a knight walking around, but he's wearing penny loafers with magic coins in the shoes, and that's why he wears them is because he just can't quite bring himself to actually take off the shoes or unequip them and stuff like that. So he just always has the shoes.
I love it. I love it.
So there we go. Yeah, we've made it through our episode here on Sidekicks and Side Quests. So overall, how do you think your experience was on the podcast?
Oh, it was a ton of fun. I had a blast. I think it's always great to collab with other creative minds. So, and I think the impromptu role play too is always fun. So
Yeah, for sure. Because it's like you can go through the whole exercise of making a character, and you're like, great, I've rolled all these stats, I got all these numbers, I've got all these traits. But if we don't humanize the NPCs, then you don't necessarily know, like, well, how are they going to sound? How are they going to react to a situation? So, I like to, give that little bit of AP sort of experience of like, or just like a mini D&D session of like, this is what it would be like to play a game of D&D with me with the guests. So yeah, it's fun to do that and bring a life and contextualize an NPC for sure. So yeah, as we're here in the final thoughts section of the show, besides any final thoughts you wish to share, but this is always the part where I leave the stage, the microphone, the soapbox over to the guests. So if you want to plug all your stuff and where can people find you online and any passions or causes we need to be made aware of, let us know.
okay, perfect. Yeah. First thing, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Like I said, was a ton of fun and glad to be here. And like I said, we do have a small business which is Heroes Wanted, which is offering Minecraft and D&T classes to kiddos. So you can go ahead and check us out at www.heroeswanted.kids. And we also do have we're on Facebook and Instagram, so you can look us up by that same name. And we kind of do funny videos with my 4-month-old. I think my wife just did a silly one where he's like, "Yeah, Heroes Wanted is as cool as grass," and he's in a field of grass. So, I've dressed my cat up like a pirate, doing silly voices and things like that. So we got some fun things on there. But definitely, if you're interested in starting a new adventure and for your children, we're a great place to check out, and we do offer a free trial to anyone that is interested as well. So
Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast and having this time with me. I can't wait to have you back on the podcast, making even more interesting NPCs. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sidekicks and Side Quests. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music, Overcast, or YouTube, or feel free to save the RSS feed to use the app or player of your choice. Visit our website, sidekicksandsidequests.com, for links, write-ups of the NPCs, and to learn more about the show and the guests who have been on it. To stay up to date and interact via social media, you can follow the podcast on Facebook, Instagram/Threads, Twitter/X, and Reddit by searching for Side KQ Podcast. You can also find our small Discord community as well online. I would love to talk D&D and showcase your fan art, stories of how you used our NPCs, discussions, and commentary. And hey, if you'd like to hail the bard and send me a message, an email, you can do so by communicating with sidekicksandsidequests@gmail.com. To help this show be the resource it's meant to be, I ask that you leave a review on iTunes, 5 stars, please, to help spread the word and share our podcast with your friends and family. Whether you're a veteran player or an aspiring dungeon master, there's something here for everyone, and I want to hear about it. As mentioned in the NPC creations section of the podcast, I do in fact have a Patreon for Sidekicks and SideQuests. If you love this podcast and what we're trying to do here, I would appreciate it if you would just go to the website, patreon.com/sidekicks and sidequests. No matter your lifestyle expenses, we have wonderful rewards at every level of Patreon membership tier. Modest, comfortable, wealthy, and aristocratic accommodations await, and we welcome all patrons to the Levitating Platter. Seriously, your financial support allows for this passion project to continue to invest in itself through the tools that will take our production to the next level, as well as provide more content for our patrons and the community at large. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you can.
Sidekicks and SideQuests is unofficial fan content permitted under the fan content policy.
Meaning I'm not approved or endorsed by Wizards.
Portions of the materials used are property of Wizards of the Coast.
Copyright Wizards of the Coast.
LLC.
Thank you for your support, and I'll see you at the pub next time.
Bar to rock on 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.